guys, it's your girl Ray. Welcome to Modern Outreach episode number 14. Brum, 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 brum. Yes, period. So I hope you tuned in to last week's episode where I discussed the shakeup happening in Lhasa. Defunding, of course, their CEO, Dr. Killam, resigning, and what the helly is going on. So, and that's what brings us to today's episode. I'm going to be talking about what exactly does it mean, the ripple effect coming from this whole situation, and what does that mean for you, right? Because a lot of my friends are like, Ray, it's so amazing what you're doing, but it doesn't necessarily involve us. I mean, which is fair to say, but it does in actuality. And I'm really gonna touch base on some things that maybe you might have not thought of. And so that's what we're gonna discuss. So this week's episode, it's like, there's more cuts. They didn't just stop there. So I hope you guys realize that. And while Lhasa's funding is in the cloud somewhere and it's being defunded, I pray and hope that the people that they're holding down who really need especially their funding aspect, are still held down. So that's really important, but they're cutting more. And the new cuts have to do with shelter, going into this safe place program that the mayor has, really put into work recently, with housing people off the streets into hotels. Mind you, these are the same hotels that people are coming to visit LA and tourist, and when major events are happening in the city. So yeah, these are the same places. And just temporary fixes. All the funding is going into that. And again, I know that we are getting ready for the Olympics and everything, but this is not a good idea. It just really isn't. We need permanent housing. We need programs. We need interventions. We need rehab. We need counseling. Oh my gosh, people. So let's talk about that. Okay. They just cut a significant amount of money, and I'm just kind of like, okay, well, how is this going to work? Because mind you, we already have about 75,000 people in LA County that are homeless. And so this is not good. So prevention programs are essential to ending our homeless crisis. And we must fund these programs as aggressively as we fund housing and services, said in a statement to LAist. So it's kind of overwhelming to think that funding is being cut from such a needed entity. And what does that mean for you and me? Now, if you are working and you pay your rent and you have the luxury of enjoying life and not worrying about the day-to-day woes financially, or maybe you are doing those things and you still have financial woes, right? Just think about it as those services that if something were to happen to you and maybe you ran through your savings, maybe you didn't have a savings to begin with, maybe your safety net is going through financial woes and they can't help you. There's all the what ifs in life, right? So the services that you would use, retention services, to make sure that you keep your housing, they don't exist anymore. Those things are relevant, and it's happening in real time, especially if you have a parental that is older, for whatever case, maybe their income or their Social Security or their pension is just not enough to sustain them. Maybe they want to get rid of the house. Maybe they didn't have a house to begin with. Maybe they need to look into Project-based housing for senior citizens, right? What if there's none of that? Those resources are washed up and don't exist anymore. The funding doesn't exist to build more, which the ones that already exist are completely full. That does impact you. There's so much in life that could possibly happen. You never know. And to think that we're not going to have that safety net, to think that the people who are transitioning now are being abruptly told that they're not eligible, the funding is gone, there's no housing resources, there's no funding out there. These are scary times in which we have to educate ourselves. We have to prepare for these things and think outside the box, especially for my colleagues, people working in services, right? Especially homeless services. If funding's being cut, programs are being cut, that impacts your job, right? Your stability, in which there's so many people that have gone to school for years and years to have these positions in which they're maybe still paying off loans, and then they're getting fired or let go. So these things are happening, and we have to think, okay, well, you know what? I have to be flexible. I have to make sure that I'm a chameleon, especially now. So let's think about, maybe looking for jobs that are not federally funded right now. Just saying, at least until all this ish gets figured out, to make sure that we're not in these situations, right? Because unemployment runs out, and if you are getting unemployment, it's never the amount that you were making. So inflation, oh my gosh, everything. And of course, with the tariff situation, definitely everything that we purchase is from China. So stack up on those things before they skyrocket. Get a new car now. Order all your stuff now. Make sure that you're getting your stuff, because it's going to be a very interesting time. And again, we never know what's going to happen. So it's always good to stay ready so you don't have to get ready, right, when the time comes. So I did want to read some stuff which I found kind of interesting. And I'll start here. Measure A is expected to bring in more than $1 billion annually, but much of the funding is dedicated to fund new approaches, including a county agency focused on affordable housing rather than the homeless services budget. I'm going to read this again. Measure A is expected to bring in more than $1 billion annually, but much of the funding is dedicated to fund new approaches, including a county agency focused on affordable housing rather than the homeless services budget. Okay. The supervisors trimmed some funding from homelessness prevention programs, but avoided eliminating them entirely. Instead of cutting $26 million from those programs, it cut $16 million. The latest proposed budget will fund homelessness prevention programs at 25% of last year's funding levels. $100 to 25%. That hurts. That hurts. And I'll tell you this. There's people still paying rent from the pandemic. That's number one. Number two, people are struggling, especially single mothers. It's the times. People are not making enough for rent, even with affordable housing, okay? And so they lean on occasionally here and there when the time is needed on these services. Prevention services, problem solving is huge. That's when you get into the car accident and you're out of work and you don't have temporary disability, or the money that all your coworkers put into the pot for you is gone. And you still need to pay rent, and you still need to put food on the table for your kids or on the table for yourself, or you still got to pay that car note and that insurance. And you're swallowed up with that. But thank goodness you can make a phone call and get on a waiting list at your local homeless services center agency, and their problem solving case manager will call you and reassure you that it's okay, that they got you for 3 or 4 months of your rent while you pay all your backed up stuff, because you're almost better and you're going to go back to work. That was through God, through homeless services, blessings for people, and which are so relevant today. I can't tell you how many residents I work with that need these services. They need this, or they're evicted. Okay, so it's extremely devastating that 75% of this funding has been cut. And they're expecting to just have 25% of this funding for these programs. Mind you, the ripple effect on that with these agencies who have people in positions that this is their solo job and they've worked these jobs for years upon years, and due to the funding cuts, their program has to be cut, meaning their job has to be cut. Yeah, so the person who was helping has now become one of the masses overnight. What I will say, especially to colleagues who work in homeless services, public services, this should be a public service announcement. Find a job that's not federally funded at this point, honestly. Be 10 steps, 20 steps ahead and get the HE double hockey sticks up out of where you are before you're on the chopping block. So make sure that, and if you don't do that, that's totally fine. Make sure that you have a plan, that you won't have a want when this situation happens. The Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors voted Tuesday to cut more funds from several homelessness service programs, including those that aim to prevent people from becoming unhoused, in order to balance the budget for the next fiscal year. If I'm lying, I'm flying. Okay. Last month, the board approved a $908 million homelessness funding package for the fiscal year that starts July 1st. So we're coming upon that. On Tuesday, the supervisors eliminated $5 million in county funding for a program that works with landlords to secure housing. That program is run by the Regional Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority, or LAHSA, who's non-existent. So let's talk about that. So $9 million pulled out of a program that works with landlords, meaning if you had rent arrears, right, and you can't pay your backed 6 months of rent, then the government would step in and work with your landlord and pay some off, get you on a payment plan and get right. That's non-existent. Okay, and so that's nothing to do with people experiencing homelessness. That's for you. That's for the people who are housed. That should be a concern. You know, God forbid something happen to you and you don't have the money. Neither does the government. They also reduced the Department of Health Services shelter budget by 3.9 million and cut an additional 507 in funding for programs that helped unhoused people clear their criminal records. The same criminal records that hold them back from getting a job that creates them into a criminal. Again, if someone has a record and no one is hiring them, but they have to eat, they have to have shelter, they have to feed their addiction, they have to do whatever in life, continue being a criminal now, continue being stereotyped, continue to have every door shut in your face, basically. Reducing Department of Health Services is wild. 3.9 million is a significant amount of money. Shelters are so needed. That is the hub of transition. The only hub of transition, really. There's no other transitional place besides a rehabilitation center and or jail. Or a casket. The ultimate transition. To see shelter services, and this was my biggest fear, is alarming. Because it's like, okay, winter shelters, when it's freezing outside, that's when they allow the masses to come in, right? So what, there's not going to be a winter shelter? What about the summer shelters, right? When it's 105 degrees, where are people going to go? So, for sure, why? Why are we taking from the most vulnerable? Why are we taking from the system that we could never figure out? Homeless agencies have been some over 20, 30, 40 years. The whole point of a homeless agency is to get rid of the homelessness and go on and maybe become an agency where there's only retention services, that you're helping people stay housed, but it's now a business and people are rightfully treating it as so. They're stealing from it. They're taking from it. And if you steal from the vulnerable, God bless your heart, honestly. God bless you. If you're an agency that maybe you're taking or you're cutting corners, do you? But there's a time and a place. You got to answer to someone. Homeless services cannot be vanished off of planet Earth. We can't just stick people in temporary fixes and think it's going to go away. After the Olympics, then what? The funding goes away. The landlords then give the residents 30 days to get out. What's going to happen? Their business is trumped. The tourism is left. I don't think that's a great solution. And all the funding, we can build thousands of tiny homes somewhere, permanent tiny homes where there's in-house case management, in-house addiction services, in-house mental health services. Now they're talking about, oh, okay, so you work in homeless services, your job's getting eliminated. Try to do this job over here, a lateral move. We're not going to pay you more to do more. That causes burnout, in which people are not going to even want to work and do the real work, right? They're going to be overwhelmed. I just feel like the medical industry is going to have a boom here. Everyone's going to try to get into the medical field. And again, that's not a perfect entity either. So, It's always good to educate yourself. Again, make sure that you're reading what the hell is going on in the world, in your city, in your county, on your block. Okay? Make sure that you are looking out for yourself, especially if you are in these services working. Make sure you're talking to the CEOs and asking those important questions like, is my job secure? Due to the funding cuts, does that have some sort of ill effect on my job title today, tomorrow, next month, next year, and 10 years from now? Ask these questions, please. Make sure that if we have relatives that are on the street that need these services, what are their backup plans? If their voucher becomes obsolete, can they continue to take care of themselves? Do they need to start saving now? These are questions that we have to really sit down and ask ourselves. Cutting from prevention services, single mothers, domestic violence survivors, foster kids, people with physical, mental health that cannot work, shelters that need to feed people 3 times a day, shelters that need case management and support groups in them. People really need to find themselves. The time is now. We have 0 time. You should have been working on you as of yesterday. Things are going to change, and don't think that these are just, cuts, but we're still going to have the systems in place. No. These are the start of the cuts. It's a drip effect. It's not all at once, but once all those drips compile into a huge puddle, it will be that. So make sure that you definitely have a backup plan, a relative, someone who will be able to support you if anything were to have happened to your housing and or your voucher. Make sure that you're reading up on what's going on, all these cuts. Make sure that you're asking the appropriate questions to your bosses. Hello, is my job stable? Okay, do I need to start looking now? People who reside in shelters, ask the questions. Will I have case management? Do you have somewhere to place me? Do you know if I will receive a voucher? Has all the paperwork that I've submitted been obsolete? Like, it doesn't matter? Do I have to make plans to stay in shelter for a longer period of time until someone helps me? Do not go back on the street if your shelter is being defunded, if your shelter is going through financial woes. No, that's their responsibility to figure this out. Don't go back on the street. All the progression that you've made, getting off of drugs, seeking mental health help, do not go back. You are strong enough to continue in your journey and figure it out. Make sure to go to Chirp LA. Use your resources, your local resources. Check out where you can receive services for free still. There's other opportunities in different agencies that are not federally funded, okay, that are on donor-based systems or whatever the case is. Make sure that you tap into local resources, especially for food, especially for free health care, and make sure that no matter what, you have a plan. That's all. I just want to help people Understand that we can't live every day like nothing's happening while everything is happening. And we definitely need to be prepared as people, whether that's for an earthquake, whether that's for a crash, a financial crash in the world, right? Everybody freaked out not too long ago when the stock market completely sunk that day, right? People were kissing their millions goodbye until something happened and okay, we're back to normal. But don't get in those situations. Also, make sure if you do have a good amount of money in the bank, take a little bit out, buy a safe, get small denominations of money, put your money into your safe just in case something happens and you need cash right away. And boom, you're good. I'm just saying, stay prepared. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. I think I'm going to name the episode that. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And hopefully Kat will be back next week. And we're going to try to do like this dual screen thing. And like me on this side and Kat on this side. So pray for us for that. Hopefully that'll work. Again, if you have any questions pertaining to what are some things that you could do better to make sure that you are going to be okay if the world around you is collapsing, make sure to DM us, Modern Outreach LA Instagram. Please check us out. Also, make sure to comment down below and we'll get back to you. Love you guys so much. And you know who's going to hit the button? Me. Peace. Like, comment, and subscribe.
Like, comment, and subscribe. Please. And thank you.
Konnichiwa.